Barrett's warmed up since the last time you've been here. Did you get out and work on your suntan this weekend?
I went out and worked on my lawn.
Well, hey, that's one way
I
to
got
do
some
it.
grass seed planted, and boy, anybody needs any work done around the yard, don't call me because I'm clueless.
Call Bob Schink for
Call
some help.
someone else because I don't have any idea what I'm doing.
Well, what's it going to be a big mud pit there
Well,
for a
no,
while?
I sprayed grass seed and it wasn't coming out, and then I realized because it was still in the bag. So you got to take it out of the bag before you actually fertilize.
We can't take you anywhere.
No,
We're back this week after a week off from Extra Points. We'll talk some high school sports now that they're finally in full swing.
Yes.
And the Brewers, not off to as terrible a start as maybe we thought. And the Jets, the playoffs have started. We'll let you know kind of where things stand and what they've got coming up
Robertson Cup
on this week's episode of Extra Points. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. John Barry to my left here. I'm Eric Schmoldt. This is the Gazette's Sports
Gurus.
Something like that.
Gurus, yes.
It's the Gazette Sports Show Extra Points, where we're usually fairly weekly, almost weekly.
Try to be.
Near weekly.
If Donald Trump's not in town.
Get together and try to chat about local sports mostly.
Right.
And, I think first and foremost this week, it's the high school stuff.
High school,
it's been
Harry,
2 weeks since we've had a show, but in that time, the weather has finally turned around, although it's raining a little bit today as we shoot this, but we had some 70s and 80 degree weather, and all of a sudden it feels like we should be watching teams play out on the diamond.
Our first high school bet. Who loses first? Craig softball, Craig baseball?
Well, I mean, they play tonight, so I mean, by the time people watch this, technically one of those teams could lose.
Well, Craig's at Sun Prairie, and clearly Sun Prairie is, I think, probably on paper the best team in the Big Eight, but Cougars defending Division I state champs. So Craig's only lost last year at Sun Prairie. The Cougar girls, the softball team, just really playing really good ball right now, and they've got a big doubleheader with Middleton on Saturday. Yeah. I'm going to say
it's got to be. You have to bet baseball.
I got to bet
smart
baseball.
Bet is baseball.
It would be the smart bet, but maybe the doubleheader is one that they split, and that's their first loss.
I think that's been the story so far. I mean,
yep.
I guess we could start a little bit on the baseball side. You mentioned they're going to Sun Prairie. I mean, that's a battle of teams that have won the last 4 state championships in a row.
Yep.
And to me, for the Cougars, it's been about picking up right where they left off at state. It was the pitching over those 3 games there at state that really carried them to that state title. And those guys, the ones that are back, and the guys who have come in fresh. I mean, the pitchers have carried them early on this season.
Yeah, and I think the one thing in talking to Coach Herbst is that he was pretty adamant about the fact that we just don't have the thumpers we had last year. So we're not going to have a lot of crooked numbers on the board. So they're going to have to do it with defense, which is real solid, and they're going to have to get good pitching, which they have. And really, Jack Blumgren has really kind of inherited that closer role from his brother Nick, and he's been lights out since he's come on for them. And really, Evan Spry's done a nice job as a starter. Nick Kramer, who's won the state championship game last year, and then when Chase Nyberg comes back, Craig's pitching staff will be as good as anybody's around.
And you haven't even mentioned Jared Filter, who's he's
another guy
been
who
off to a really
strikes.
solid start.
Yeah,
I mean,
he is.
I think he's done all they could have asked for him, and they've even gone one more deep. Who's the other starter you watched?
Brandon Dunham. Brandon Dunham, a junior who he pitched very well for the JV team, but obviously it's a big step when you go from the JV to basically what's the best conference in the state in the Big Eight. I saw him just shut down Madison East, a nice breaking ball. Didn't throw overly hard, but threw strikes and kept hitters off balance. And Vic hoped to get 4 innings out of him and got almost 6 out of him.
So I mean, we're not talking just guys that have showed up and are eating a lot of innings. I mean, he's gone 5-6 guys deep.
Yep.
And they, like you said, they still have Nyborg coming back later this year. So
yep.
I think that's what's going to carry them. And I think they'll be in that race for the entire season.
Yep. I think if they have an Achilles right now, it's hitting. But I think as the weather heats up, I think the bats will heat up a little bit. They're just not going to be probably
quite as good,
quite as potent offensively as they have been. But their pitching may be better.
And then it's really just been, I mean, the early story is Craig's team's on the diamond. I mean, the softball team played 5 games in 5 days last week. They weren't real pleased about it, but when the dust settled, they'd won them all.
Right.
And not just the easy schedule. I mean, they finished by winning at Sun Prairie and then just crushing Verona. I mean, those are teams that you would expect to be toward the top.
And who's swinging a hotter bat right now, baseball or softball, than Kayla Kaufman? Nobody. I mean, she is raking.
I don't think we're going to see another 8 RBI game this year.
And, good for her because she's a good athlete, part of that Rock County Fury team that played at state. And she talked a little bit to you, I know, about the whole hand and eye coordination with using the puck and kind of translating that over onto the softball diamond. But, boy, the only real senior that contributes on that team. And she's been crazy good the first month of the season.
And for me, I mean, their lineup top to bottom, whereas we said on the baseball side, they've got to kind of scratch across some runs.
Yep.
Craig is capable of putting up runs just about every inning because top to bottom, they've all been hitting. I mean, you look, he had to move Maddie Spry up in the lineup because she's been off to such a hot start. Yep. When you have Hannah Halverson at the top, she's been on base. It seems like every time she gets there.
Yep.
But you go all the way down, all the way through the lineup. Julia Humphrey has been off to like a really great start.
Yep.
And when Kennedy Cox finds her bat, I mean,
she will.
This team is they're going to give some teams some trouble.
They're going to give a lot of teams trouble. And I think on the flip side, when you look on the other side of town of the Vikes, both teams, baseball and softball, inexperienced. Not a lot of senior varsity leaders coming back, but both playing better. The Parker baseball's back to 500. They won 3 out of 4 games last week. Parker softball got their first win, turned around, got another win, a Big 8 win. So, little strides for both of those programs, but I think they're starting to, as the weather's heated up, both teams are starting to play better.
Well, and I think with the Parker baseball team, for sure, I mean, there's so many sophomores that are on that team that just haven't experienced varsity play before.
At that level,
they've got a few games under their belt, and they realize, okay, we can do this. We're all right.
And having Hunter Yerke back's huge because he missed 4 or 5 games with an illness, but he had a couple of doubles in their win over East on Saturday, and you put him in that 4 spot in the lineup, and they're a much more productive team.
Some of the other early storylines that have caught your eye?
I think you go a little bit south and look at both Beloit Turner softball and baseball. 2 more teams that are really playing good ball right now. I got a chance to see the Turner boys beat what's going to be a pretty good Edgerton team and beat them pretty handily. And, the Trojans have some youth, but the top 4 or 5 hitters are solid. And with Seth Smith, they've got a stud ace and certainly a big win for them beating Jefferson earlier in the year because Jefferson's been a long time, not long time, but at least for the past decade or so, it's kind of dominated Rock Valley.
Kind of a goofy game. I think it went 9 innings, but they scored a bunch in the top of the ninth. I think Jefferson's still kind of the team to beat there in the north, but Whitewater off to
great start.
An undefeated start. Yep. Maybe makes a little noise and makes that a bit of a race up there.
And that's good for them because that's a program that just, again, when you're that young, you're going to get better, and that's what the the Whippets have done. And I see yesterday they beat Palmyra Eagle, and just a team that kind of flying under the radar, but probably not for much longer if they keep winning.
They haven't seen the toughest schedule yet,
haven't.
But hey, they've won the games they've thrown out there, and now we'll get a chance to really kind of see where they stand.
Right.
You mentioned Beloit Turner softball. I think that's a team that they are off to a pretty good start, but they're not that state caliber team right now that they were last year.
Well, they don't have Kelsey Packard.
They lost. You're right. They lost 5 seniors at least, and Kaylin Packard kind of coming off a bit of an injury to start the season. So I think it's a team that's off to a pretty good start, and if she gets healthy and they really kind of get their legs under them even a little bit more, they could be very good and vie for going back to state.
And I think we'll get a better gauge of where they're at on Thursday when McFarland comes in, because I think McFarland clearly is the best team in the Rock Valley. I don't think there's any question. That doesn't mean they're going to go the furthest come tournament time, but I think right now the Silver Eagles have kind of manhandled everybody they played. Not the Silver Eagles, the Spartans have kind of manhandled everybody they played. And obviously this is their first big test as they go to Turner and play a Turner team that, played for a state title last year. So.
And you got a team a little further east, and Delavan Darien picked up kind of where they left off. Yep. They've got Jenna Speth on the mound. She's been a star for years now, and she's been all of that to start the season.
She's, I think, obviously the best pitcher that we've got in our area. It doesn't mean there aren't other good ones. Certainly Jenna Brandt's very good, but I think as far as just dominating stuff, overpowering. Yeah. I think Jenna Speth is clearly, and that's why she's got a D1 scholarship waiting for her. So, Delavan in that conference. I mean, like the Big 8 in baseball, the Southern Lakes is probably as good as there is in softball, and Delavan right now is right there.
Well, they got an early win against Wilmot, so
Right.
that helps
Yep.
and gives them some confidence. And I think it's Monday they go to Westosha, and that's when we're really going to find out, because that team's the real
that's
deal.
the Wood girl, right? It's at Westosha, the pitcher.
No, what's her name?
Can't remember her name, but whoever it is really good, and they're in that sectional with Craig and everybody else. So
we do some quick Googling. We should say Westosha did lose to Union Grove,
Yes.
so it's Union Grove that's in the driver's seat right
Okay.
now. But I mean,
all right,
that Southern Lakes Conference is always
good. Yep. And I think it's a case where, it's just, I think more than anything, coaches are happy to be getting games in now. It was for 2 weeks, there really wasn't much action going on. You might have played a game or two, and that was in deplorable conditions. But now you're to the point where they can get out. They've got 3 or 4 games a week, and you're starting to see kids, and people are vying for positions, and coaches are getting a better feel of where their teams are at, what they need to work on, and where they're going to be. So Herncar, that's it.
Yes.
Yep.
She went to state last year, and she just lit everybody up.
She was overpowering up there. Yep, that's right.
So, we'll get a chance to see kind of where Delavan Darien sits a little bit more, I think, on Monday. But, the other thing is they play all these teams, and then when they drop down to Division II
it's a big advantage.
Yeah.
We see it in other sports, and it's certainly an advantage for them. And I think with Genesville, I think they're going to be right there, because they're not going to give up a lot of runs.
Soccer, I think the story probably so far has been Elkhorn, and obviously some of the story was with the fans that were at Elkhorn.
And I don't want that to reflect on the program, because
I think that
program's a lot more. That has nothing to do with those girls or the coach or anything like that. That was just a couple of kids being kids and using poor judgment, and obviously that's been addressed, and I think everybody's moved on, and I don't think you'll see that anymore. And, it's too bad that it came to that, but now that it's here and it's come to a head and it's been resolved.
Hopefully it'll be a learning experience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not something you ever want to, you shouldn't have to deal with this day and age, but you do. And I thought it was handled properly, and the WIA kind of stayed out of it, and they let people and the schools kind of discipline and do things on their own. And I think that's the way to handle it.
Yep. And I think Elkhorn, they've shown they're off to a hot start, and they beat Craig over the weekend.
They got the leading scorer in the state. So, and I think for the Cougar girls, Bill McCabe will have those kids ready to play, but they're pretty young, and they're going to have some growing pains. And then
it's never easy in the Big Eight.
No, and the Big Eight with Middleton and Sun Prairie and Verona. It's a dogfight every night, pretty much.
I think Bigfoot Williams Bay off to a pretty good start in the Rock. And, it's pretty early. A lot of these teams still playing non-conference, so we got to kind of see how the conference
there's tournaments to start. Little
there.
Quads and things will start popping up in the next couple of weeks, and you'll find out a little bit more, because they branch out and start playing some good programs just to kind of see where they're at. It's kind of the same way with track. Now your invites kind of get rolling starting this Friday and Saturday. So, once the weather turns, teams become more active, and this is a fun time of year, but it's busy.
Yeah. Good news is at least they're getting the games in.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Some teams that didn't get the full game in, the Brewers and the Twins on Monday night, they only played 6 innings.
Right.
But
back at it today with our boy Willie Peralta, who actually, as we're taping this, is leading 5-2 in the 7th inning. So, he gave up 2 runs early, and I thought, here we go again. But, the Brewers, let's face it, they're going to go as far as that young staff can take them, and they haven't been great, but they haven't been awful.
Well, in their schedule, we thought was going to be pretty hard to start the season, and to be hovering just below the 500 mark, I think, is about as good as we really could have thought 2 weeks into the season.
And we never thought they were going to vie for postseason or in that division that they're in, but at least if they could stay competitive, it'll keep people coming to Miller Park, and it'll be worth watching instead of 20 games under 500 by the All-Star break where you lose interest and nobody cares. So,
I guess the early storylines has been the starters just haven't been all that good. They've had to use their bullpen quite a bit.
Right.
Scooter's
been hot.
well.
Braun's been okay. I think the big thing for the Brewers right now, and you and I talked about it before, is let's get LaCroix hot so that we can trade him. Yeah, that's the big thing right now, is to get him hot so that somebody jumps on board and we get a little bit more than we may get down the road when he's not going to be worth as much.
I will say, the fact that they've kept it up at least through this first half of the first month of the season has kept me interested.
Yeah, exactly. It's something I'll still watch them. They're on, and last night there was hockey in the NBA playoffs, and the Brewers and the Cubs and Cardinals. And, I would still say of everything that was on, I probably watched the Brewer game the most. So, I mean, my interest is still there. I'm a Brewer fan, and I'll watch them until, it gets to the point where they're not enjoyable to watch anymore.
Well, plus you have to keep watching. You're still trying to remember who all these guys are.
Who are the guys are? Yeah, exactly.
It has been kind of fun to watch, guys like VR and get their feet wet a little bit. And, a guy like Walsh today got his first hit finally.
Yep. And just in general, I mean, they're young guys. They play hard. They come to the park, and I think Council's got them in the right direction as far as playing the game the right way and playing hard. It's just, there's just not a lot of the guys they have now aren't guys that I don't see in that lineup. Aaron Hill has not been good. I think when the young kids are ready in a year or two, they're going to be a fun team to watch.
You mentioned some hockey. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we've got the NHL going on. I don't think you and I are experts there. Or
just my Stars who lost to Minnesota last night. We don't talk about it.
But locally, we got the Jets in the playoffs.
Yep.
They wound up with the number 2 seed and split over the weekend with the Minnesota Wilderness. So they'll go up there this weekend. Need to win at least one to get the 5th game back at home, or if they can try to sweep them up there, make their way into the second round of the divisional playoffs. But another pretty good season for the Jets, and they made the most of their last couple of weeks by pushing into that number 2 spot.
And a great win on Friday night. And then I got the sense in reading your story on Sunday that Coach Dibble wasn't real happy with the effort that his kids gave. And that's, you win that handily the night before, and sometimes you take things for granted. I look at the NBA with Oklahoma City just pounding Dallas the first game of their playoff series, and Dallas came around and beat them last night. So I got the sense that Coach Dibble, I'm sure those kids heard it afterward, because he didn't sound too happy with the way that they came.
He didn't really mince words there.
No, he
after
didn't.
The game.
Good for him. I mean, that's sometimes.
Well, I mean, it was pretty clear. They just didn't have, the zip that they had against, especially against the Wilderness all season. They played them so well because they were the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. So every time they played them, they just showed up ready to go. And Saturday, you just didn't get that feel. And, the weather didn't help the crowd.
It's 78 degrees outside. There's nobody there.
Yeah,
and you'd beaten them handily the night before. So it was a formula for failure.
But it's the playoffs. I mean, you got to find a way. And I thought, when they tied it 1-1, I'm like, all right, maybe this gets something going, and it just didn't. No. But they had, and they still are playing well, and it's one loss. But and Jack LaFontaine, that was his first loss in a while, but I think he played fairly well. Gave up maybe one goal that he'd like to have back, but when you have a hot goalie like that, you're gonna do all right. And they played well at Minnesota this season.
I gotta believe they'll get a split up there. I gotta believe there'll be a game 5 on Monday night at the Ice Arena. I would think, unless Janesville can find a way. I don't think they're gonna get swept up there. And I guess I don't see them sweeping them. I would expect a split up in Minnesota, and it would be game 5 Monday night at the Ice Arena, which, again, for people in town on a Monday night, not much else going on. It's good hockey.
Yeah, follow along. We'll see where it all shakes out.
Yep.
We weren't here last week, so I didn't get to rib you about your boy Spieth and what happened on number 12 there.
Boy, he that wasn't good. That wasn't good. I don't know what shot was worse, the first one or the second one, but he found the pond. But you know what?
Been there.
He was classy. He handled it correctly. But I got to believe putting the green jacket on.
Probably didn't feel very good.
What was it, Wittig or Willig or
Willett?
Putting
Danny
the green
Willett.
jacket on had to be a little tough for Mr. Spieth, because it was so close to having back to back, and you just implode on the back nine for a 41, which you just don't expect one of the top golfers in the world on a course that he'd owned, the previous 9 rounds, to do something like that. But golf's a funny game, and you can see what happens.
Vaughn, what's going on in racing? Is Kyle Busch just still winning everything, or did they break him up this week? Okay, they broke him up finally.
Crash. Carl Edwards won because I saw the back flip.
Okay, all right.
I wonder if he ever get too old to do a back flip. If he just do a backward roll sometime.
Probably like his family or team should probably tell him, like, you're going to hurt yourself.
Where's our boy Kenseth? Is he climbing the rankings, or?
He crashed again.
He crashed again. Mm-hmm. Bad tires, didn't they? Issues, yeah. Joe Gibbs got bad tires. Come on, Joe. You got money. Go get better tires.
Yeah, he's got to do something.
All right.
That's where that stands. Anything else we're missing here?
I don't think so, no. Who you got in the NBA? You like Golden State? You want Golden State or you want the field?
Give me the field,
All right, I'll take the Warriors.
especially with Steph. We don't really know what his ankle's going to do. I'll take the field.
God, Houston plays absolutely zero defense. James Harden is maybe the worst defensive player I've ever seen in my life.
Somebody wake me up when like the NHL. I watch more NHL than the NBA, but when the NBA semifinals get here, wake me up and I might start watching.
I laughed so hard late Monday night listening to Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal and Kenny Smith just ripping on Houston and their lack of defense. That I was literally in tears. I was laughing so hard. I mean, they were on the air and just it was funny. It was good entertainment.
I think that'll about do it.
That'll about do it.
We'll catch you up here hopefully next week. Join us again. You can let us know what you think of the show by shooting us an email to sports@gazetteextra.com or leaving a review on iTunes or YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or any of those other. Probably, you could Periscope us or. Oh,
we got to you're making your WCLO debut Thursday as the Vikings host Sun Prairie. So Mr. Schmoldt and Josh Goldberg will be on the air at 5 o'clock on WCLO, and tune in if you can't get down to Riverside Park. Should be a good game.
You think so? I would imagine Sun Prairie is going to throw their top guy tonight.
Well, they got two of them, so Reuter and Hausner. So
if you're going to compete in the Big Eight, you got to have more than one.
You got to have more than one, yeah.
So, but yeah, that'll be fun.
That'll be fun, yeah.
Try to add some color here and there, and hopefully not, say something real dumb.
Don't swear.
Thanks to Dave Vaughn, who's our producer and NASCAR aficionado, auto racing. He does it all. He does more than NASCAR.
Yeah. He's Form 1 more than
And thanks to Kevin McLeod for the tunes, and we'll see you back here next week.
Take care, everybody.